Good morning. My name is Leslie Williams, and today's date is April 11th, 2012, and I'm in San Diego, California. I'm a target of organized stalking, which is also known as gang stalking, electronic harassment, which is known and to be understood to be the microwave auditory effect and scalar projected audible distinguishable signals. To get a better and clearer idea of what that is, along with also remote neural monitoring, remote neural influencing, and remote neural stimulating, in part, you can go to www.surveillanceissues.com and thoroughly scrutinize the information that is described on that particular webpage. I'm in San Diego, California, and I've been a target of this crime now openly for 10 full years. It began openly towards me in 2002 in Michigan. What is happening towards me is a result of a nationwide syndicate who operates on a specific set of templates, protocols, and behaviors that they expedite towards a target. And since it's a nationwide syndicate, all they do is basically target and stalk a target everywhere they go, from state to state including. Now, to get an idea of how electronic harassment is utilized towards a target, we have to understand at least two things. And one way to help you understand how they are and how it's expedited, for a preliminary introduction, do these two separate things. Go to YouTube, actually three. Go to YouTube and type in John Hall Satellite Terrorism and listen to all of his videos, as many as you possibly can, because when you listen to all of them, you'll be able to understand exactly how they expedite the electronic harassment. And as a result of listening to all of his videos, you'll hear him mention remote neural monitoring many times. Now, you can also go to YouTube and type in remote neural monitoring and listen to the NYC Chronicle videos. The NYC Chronicle videos are good to listen to for a preliminary introduction in reference to what targets experience. And she even does a pretty good job in reference to buying some meters and catching the electronic harassment being caught on a meter in reference to the transmissions. Understand this and be clear. Electronic equipment does not lie. I have personally myself caught electronic harassment on these digital tape recorders because the digital tape recorders run on the same low inductive rate that electronic harassment is transmitted towards a target on, the extra low frequency wave spectrum. It's very low waves signals that they use to transmit it, and these digital tape recorders are the only real thing as of to date that targets can buy that might catch it, because they also run on the extra low frequency wave spectrum. And even John Hall, if you listen closely to his videos, you'll eventually hear him in one of his videos talk about digital tape recorders can catch it. Now, you can also go to YouTube and type in electronic harassment devices, and you'll be able to get a good idea in reference to the type of apparatuses that are used to transmit the electronic harassment and even the remote neural monitoring. Now, fellow citizens, I'm aware that a lot of people don't know what organized stalking is and gang stalking or electronic harassment. There is a law in Michigan, Maine, and Massachusetts in reference to electronic harassment. And remote neural monitoring. It's not subject matters that are known by the general public, because the general public has no reason to know it, because if they're not a target of it, this is something that is outside of the realm of normalcy, and it is outside the realm of general knowledge, because this is technology that is being used for extreme criminal aspirations. And if you're not a target of these crimes, you have no reason to know about them, because you will never have an incentive or a reason to attempt to investigate something that is not in your life. Okay? So, you know, the only way that you're going to be able to understand what organized stalking is, excuse me please, or gang stalking, there's an organization that I'm just becoming familiar with. I'm not too familiar with it, but they've done some videos on me. It's called the Informer Report, and go to Google and YouTube and type in the Informer Report Organized Stalking 3, and you'll be able to understand some aspects of organized stalking. Remote, and they have a web page as well. Just type in at Google the Informer Report, and then type in a space, and then type in organized stalking, and you'll find their webpage, and you will find their YouTube channel. Now, understand this and be clear. I make the videos that I make because I am a target of this extreme criminality that is happening towards me, and has happened towards me now in 4 states. And if you thoroughly investigate these crimes and what other targets are saying, and there's hundreds of thousands of them in America, you will clearly be able to read that they mention the same thing, that they're stalked from state to state. Right now, there's I'm going to mention 2 of many other targets in San Diego. Their names. 2 of them are Norman and Tracy Wicks. You can find their YouTube. Their YouTube channel is titled Norm, NORMWICKS, in San Diego. And you'll find them. They're 2 people that are on disability, because they go after people on disability, single women, single mothers. They're into trust fund liquidation, property co-opting, land co-opting, mortgage co-opting. And yesterday, I literally just found an article in the paper about how a guy, and in fact, the more I think about it, I think it happened here in California, was targeted for this, for land co-opting and mortgage co-opting. And I found a YouTube video about it, and it clearly mentions on the YouTube video, it was covered on the news, everything that is described that happened to this guy is organized stalking, because they're into land co-opting, mortgage co-opting, trust fund liquidation, identity theft, prostitution rings, human trafficking rings, sexual servitude rings. You would not believe what I know and what they're into. Trust fund liquidations, I mean, they will take everything you have. Like, they go after people on disability. Norman and Tracy Wicks are on disability. And what they do, they go after people on disability because they want to be able to take over their monthly checks, exploit their Medicare, and then to exploit them sexually. Any way they can. Now, what they do to targets is they deliberately create homelessness, unemployment, and they'll even stage vehicle accidents so you don't have a car to sleep in. Because once the destitution is created, they try to exploit the destitution. How do they do that? They do that by trying to claim that a target cannot take care of themselves, and over time, between the falsified police reports, the falsified doctor reports, and the falsified social services reports, including county mental health, and reports by neighborhood doctors that are in neighborhood hospitals who are part of the criminal syndicate. All of them work together, and even charities, because it's organized crime in the system and in the community that has tentacles to it. Now, what they do to a target after they create destitution is run them down to the ground, okay, to break them. That's done through the organized stalking, the electronic harassment arrests, the remote neural monitoring influencing, and the remote neural monitoring stimulating. The remote neural monitoring is also used to alter brain states, and it's also used for surveillance purposes. A target's email and internet activity is 100% monitored, intercepted, rerouted, and their cell phone is hacked. And all cell phone calls for help in reference to possibly calling other targets or the ACLU or Amnesty International, they will even reroute a phone call and pretend to be the people you're calling, okay, to discourage you about coming to the place that you're actually calling, like the ACLU or whatever, in order to keep you in this isolated campaign, because they don't allow you to have friends. Through the organized stalking, they literally are observing you at all times, and through the remote neural monitoring, they're observing you at all times. So they see if you're reaching out for help. And it's just like basically a football game. They head you off at the pass by knowing your playbook. And they know your playbook through the organized stalking and through the remote neural monitoring. They keep targets isolated so they can keep the campaign expedited through overt and covert means, and by using the employment description of the syndicated individuals within the system: police officers, firefighters, social services workers, county mental health workers, doctors in nearby hospitals, fire department personnel, EMS, regular private EMS individuals, because it's organized crime in the system and in the community that is tentacled to. And what they do is use their employment descriptions to file falsified police reports, to file falsified county mental health reports, social services reports, doctor reports, and then they take this accumulated documentation that is taken and falsified over time throughout the expedition once destitution is created, to then try and claim that the target cannot take care of themselves because they're destitute and because they're claiming they're being stalked by people they don't know. Okay? Now, this is all done to contain the target through a corrupt probate attorney and through a corrupt probate syndicated judge. Yeah. and the whole case is expedited through the prosecutor's office and the DA's office, who have organized crime syndicated members within it. This is done in order to take legal custody of the target's finances, to exploit their Medicare, and then to put them in a group home also, to exploit them sexually. And it's all syndicated, and they make sure the target remains trapped in these types of homes in order to be able to keep bilking the Medicare through staged incidences they literally stage and create, and then blame the target for it in order to pipeline them back into the hospital where the Medicare can be bilked again. The target is then put on all types of psychotropic drugs that deliberately and for deliberate and intentional purposes that create anxiety, the side effects of the medication, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, tremors. You would not believe what they do to targets. It's nothing but literal, flat-out torture. Literal torture, because the body reacts to everything. The physiological responses and the mental responses, the emotional responses that are experienced throughout this expedition are literally engraved and potentiated new neural networks that are created as a target is experiencing all of these things. And that's part of the reason why they're harassed through the organized stalking. Well, the handlers that they're connected to that have the remote neural monitoring, when these neural circuits are being created, the handlers of remote neural monitoring will literally identify and mark those neural networks in reference to the mental responses that a target experiences as a result of the harassment, intimidation, assaults, and even rapes. They then will go back and identify and mark those neural networks and stimulate them back in real time in current staged events in order to try and get a target to react in a way that they reacted to a previous harassment. In other words, say if a target goes out one day along their routes and they're approached, intimidated, provoked, and assaulted, all the mental, emotional, physiological responses that are felt during that provocation, during that incident, is a neural network, including any verbal statements and even including any physical motor cortex associated behaviors, like possibly fighting back or clenching your fists to defend yourself. That's all one neural network. They will identify and mark that neural network and then stimulate it in a separate incident they create later on. So all those thought processes, physiological responses, mental responses, emotional responses, and any physical motor cortex associated behaviors are reacted out in real time because they stimulate that neural network back into the current consciousness of a target. And as a result of remote neural monitoring being able to stimulate any neural network under the perceptual radar, the target has no idea that an old neural network has been reactivated and brought back into current consciousness. So they basically do nothing but literally re-experience everything that is in that neural network that was created, potentiated, reinforced. As a result, it's stimulated back in current time and rethought out, refelt, and reacted upon in real time for a staged event that they designed to deliberately bring about towards a target. They will then use this event to call 911 through a staged witness. To call 911, blame the incident on the target, and then the syndicated police officer steps in, either arrests the target or files a false police report. And this is literally what they do. That's why they have remote neural monitoring. Remote neural monitoring can also influence your brain states. It can induce anxiety attacks, anger, excitement, tremors, sexual stimulation, panic attacks. You would not believe the powerfulness of this technology. And I want to say another thing also. When targets are isolated and kept in a campaign, say if they go to a university nonstop because it's the only place they can really go, like to a library, as a result of like maybe going to a university practically every day for over a year and being isolated in this campaign and then seeing everybody that plays a role in it and then eventually seeing that they're just people too and then being fearful that they got so much against them in reference to the employment descriptions that are part of this, they start feeling extremely vulnerable. So they might even have thoughts of that they're willing to bargain, you know, like, because the whole goal for them is to try and deliberate how they can get out of this situation. And if they have a good personality, they might even feel like, I really, at the end of the day, do I really want to hurt these people by exposing them or pressing charges or whatever? Well, those are neural processes. And as a result of those neural processes being identified and marked by the handlers of remote neural monitoring, the people that are literally monitoring them neurally, they will even identify and mark those neural networks and stimulate them back in real time if an expedition ever gets out of control that could hurt them. So then the target would rethink to themselves what they thought when that neural process was being processed. Do I really want to hurt these people? And that's done to mind control the target so the target does not take the next step and possibly going forward with something that they were able to do, like get a hold of really big proof, or somebody did step in and advocate for the target, and then this could get exposed. What they'll do is stimulate that neural network to control the target mentally so they have thought processes, well, I don't really want to hurt these people. Do you see what I'm saying? This is nothing but literal mind control. The only thing I can do, okay, is tell you to investigate remote neural monitoring extensively, remote neural influencing and remote neural stimulating, organized stalking, electronic harassment. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, also Google organized stalking in universities. You'll get over 8 million responses. My name is Leslie Williams, and this is the extreme audacity of these individuals. And they will deliberately and intentionally try to create neural networks so they can then turn around by leading a target's thinking, by offering them things, by putting them in such a bad destitution that they have to depend on the very system, in other words, the very places that might be able to help a target, so the target becomes dependent on them, and then in times they might even be grateful for the help. Well, while they're experiencing that they're seeing that they can run to certain places for help and dependence, there's interactions between the person and the place. And as a result of the target getting intermediate help, they're grateful for it. And so they think to themselves, this is great, I can run here, I can depend on these guys. That's a neural network. Yeah, so you see? So they'll be used eventually. Once that neural network is created, that place will eventually be used to target a target, as far as them playing specific roles and bringing about, in aiding and abetting and bringing about the original objective, containment. Okay, so they'll eventually turn on the target too. And if the target starts to see it and starts to expose that, they'll stimulate the neural network that the target had in reference to the processes that held thoughts and ideas about depending on them, being able, feeling good about it, trusting them, and feeling grateful. Yeah, they'll stimulate that back in real time if that target ever attempts to expose them for how they're later used in the expedition. And this is the literal the audacity of the powerfulness of this technology. It's nothing but neural enslavement and neural control. This is about human trafficking, sexual servitude rings, racketeering. You would not believe what I know. And if you go to the Informer report, if you go to Google and type in the Informer report, organized stalking, and thoroughly look at their webpage and thoroughly look at their videos, you're going to also clearly hear these individuals saying the same thing, that they're into human trafficking, racketeering, and if you look at their webpage, you'll clearly see remote neural monitoring is listed all over it. I have to go. This is what is known as an informative file to inform you about sections of what's happening to me, okay, what they're attempting to do to me, who's involved, USD, SDSU, and UCSD. And any public libraries that go into San Diego, like Point Loma Library, are playing a direct role in intercepting my emails and my communications for help, and my phone is being hacked. And the only people that have my phone number in California are the San Diego Police, and now the California Highway Patrol is acting like they have it as well. Go to Google and type in organized stalking and the California Highway Patrol, and look at how many Google generated responses you'll get. And I think then, as a result of seeing those responses and reviewing the web pages, you'll clearly be able to see that the California Highway Patrol has been used before many times in organized stalking expeditions. My name is Leslie Williams. Today's date is May 11th, 2012, and I'm in San Diego, California. I'm a target of organized stalking, which is also known as gang stalking, electronic harassment, and remote neural monitoring.